checkpoints. You know, we have Pac-12s coming up next week. So don't need to change the world. Back to some basics for you. It's such an easy thing to get sitting back into that right side. So all we're looking for is a little bit of that hip bump. Now, there's always questions about how to do that, not for you, just for the viewers out there as well. So what I was showing Mason today, guys, it's not just a hip bump forward. It's forward and back, which really takes this belt buckle and moves it back at a 45-degree angle. Boom. And what it feels like is happening when I do that, it feels like my femur is getting on top of my left leg and creating more of a post. When you do that the right way, watch this, it keeps the hips square, it sets the pelvis in a position that if I keep my sternum still while I do that, that allows me to freely turn behind the golf ball with ease and not strain my lower back at all, okay? So, hike that left hip up a little bit, 45 degrees back with this, keep the sternum still. The big thing for you after you create that post, all we want to feel, we soften the takeaway a little bit earlier. Mason was just cupping a little bit too much in the beginning because he knows that we're trying to get away from that real bowed look at the top. So he's cupping a little bit. The club got a little outside, so we decided to soften that move up and not be so aggressive with the hinge. But the big thing for you is making sure your chest turns, your hands to the top, and you feel like everything stops a little bit lower with that elbow down. That allows you to transition shallow but exit as hard as you want left, which is one of your strengths, to get the ball on line. Like a shallow cut, right? I've always said if you think about that, that's your best bet to hitting the golf ball straight because it stabilizes the club face, but it's not steep. So you're not going to start that thing over there, square it up to that and start it way left, or glance one way off the face to the right. So if you just do a good job posting up those hips, feeling the body turn the hands back to the top. Show me a little takeaway move. Here, Kev, get back here so you can see what Mason's working on. Before what you're doing, just show what you're doing. He was doing a little bit of that.
I know here.
So we're just trying to be here, a little more relaxed, just a little more right to there. And then he's going to go to the back and maintain the cup feeling to the top, though, because Mason always will bow the wrist a little bit to the top. That was all. That was perfect right there. If we have that process locked in, if this guy's just set in stone today with, hey, I'm posting up my lead leg, and hey, for the viewers, how we do that. There's a lot of questions on the hip bump. A lot of questions, right, Kev? Yeah. We get that a lot. It's not just forward. We're trying to come up with ways to, everybody in front of us gets this down because we always put them in the right spot, but talking it through to the viewers, it's not just a slide to the left. That's not it. That'll actually restrict the movement. It's the hip going forward and slightly back. Watch. Boom. From this angle. And that puts the pelvis in a spot that actually makes it for a cleaner turn. Puts the spine angle perpendicular to the pelvis as well, and really opens it up for a nice turn, and really takes all the stress off the lower back. Helps you turn behind the golf ball without swaying off it as well, and then be able to rotate and cover it without sliding. Everybody's heard me talk about that, but I still have to make sure we know, because that's the most efficient way to use the body and to swing the golf club around you. This guy's doing great, Kev. Let's get a little.
So would you say it's like at a 11:30?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put it on a clock, it's like this, you know? It's like if we're here, I'm going there. Okay, and that's just, boom. Now, the reason why, and if anybody's watched Mason swing in the past, the reason why I'm so big on Mason keeping a little bit more of a cupped wrist is him with a cupped wrist is still a slightly bowed wrist.
Yeah.
And we know that he leans that shaft very far forward. When that wrist gets bowed, it just increases the amount the club gets behind him. And unfortunately what that does is it leads to some right shots, and he really has to feel like he snaps that wrist hard through impact to catch up. And that's what we don't want. So him getting a little bit more cupped at the top is actually going to flatten it and keep the club more in front of him. And here's the funny thing, if we look at Mason's swing at the top, got some great swings of Mason here. This is the face-on view. Watch the shaft, you guys. Watch how cool this is. Such a great move. Look at that. Who wouldn't love to have that forward shaft lean? But the problem is, when he bows that wrist, that becomes even more. Okay, so here we go. Let's check out all the way to the end here. This is him feeling a cupped left wrist. And that's him feeling a cupped wrist to the top, which actually is a flat left wrist. And that keeps the club in front of him, right down the forearm. Beautiful through impact. Going to Pac-12s and getting a W and just going bump, 3/4 with the cupped wrist. And it's funny, I say cupped wrist, but I mean flat wrist for him. It just more cup for this guy, not for you. Not necessarily for you guys. Yeah, disclaimer, hey, disclaimer, if you're looking like this at the top of your swing, that thought is not for you. This one might be for you. Hold the tray of pizza, pinch the elbow in, you know, get the knuckles down to the ground. That's how you bow the wrist, right? Don't have more cupped, which, believe it or not, is what I have to feel just to have a flat wrist as well. So really going into Pac-12s, you don't want to have a lot of thoughts. I'm just thinking for you that the only thoughts would be, get that hip up. Why? It just provides a good opportunity to turn around some fixed points so you don't have to slide and open up and then excess movements taking place in the downswing. It just helps quiet the body down, helps you rotate around a more definitive lead leg. That's number one. Number two, just feel a little more one piece in the takeaway, not so much of an extreme hinge. And keep a little shorter, more cupped look at the top. And the arms will be more connected to your body. The club will be more in front of you from the cupped look, so you have your hands more in front of your chest, which is going to be connected arms to body. And then you have the cupped left wrist, which is going to be, for you, golf club more in front of you and not behind you. Your start lines get better, and you can be more aggressive through impact. You can open up more and not have to fear hitting it left, okay? Here we go, let's try it. 3/4 cupped, and get after it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Run me through your thoughts. Just why don't you talk through it?
So right when I come into the ball, obviously I always have my aim point, my intermediate target. Make sure that's good. Setup stays relatively the same. Besides the hip bump, I feel like I'm going to take it back with my left shoulder so I don't pick it up, and then just cup the wrist on the way up.
Oh, it's so good right there. That was so good. And hey, I talked to, we had Jason Myers on recently. You know what Jay Mai told me one time? He said, all great athletes, all great athletes in pressure situations have the ability to be able to talk themselves through their process and what they need to do. And they're not necessarily saying it out loud, but it's going on in their head. And what happens when you do what you just did, because that was the best swing of the day, is, the fear of failure and the results, the outcome, the stuff that can make you nervous, that completely goes by the wayside because all you're focused on is your process. So that's a big lesson as well there. And I think that, I watched you do that, and it was funny because I'm looking at you go through your checkpoints. You just got in there, setup was perfect, hip was bumped. Best backswing of the day. It was connected, a little shorter, wrist was perfect, ball left right on line, couldn't have been any better. That one right there is right through the uprights. Only two things will go wrong for Mason in his swing if he has a setup right. Only tendency. Bow the wrist excessively and lift the arms a little bit to the top.
Yeah.
Only two reasons why the ball would get caught going right. And the random left one would come in maybe just to try to catch it up.
Yeah.
But listen, you're going to miss it right because that just looks to me as the only miss you could possibly have with what you're currently doing if you bow it too much and you lift it. All that means is the hands got behind the body, the club got behind the hands, and we're just still going to be a little bit stuck. Give me the best 3/4 cupping motion here through the golf ball. Perfect. Literally, this guy, it's on repeat when we tell him. And look at, this is 3/4 and cup for Mason. Watch this. Let's all look at this. Mason, come over here, buddy. When we say 3/4 length swing, look at that. Perfect. And watch, it's going to come down perfect too. Yep. Geez, our viewers are looking at that like, yes, please. So, yeah. All right, buddy. At Porzak Golf, we take a lot of pride in having developed some of the best and most consistent golf swings on the planet. We do this through simplicity. Our full swing masterclass will take you on a step-by-step, easy-to-understand process on how to get your golf swing better than ever. Join the many before you who've utilized our full swing masterclass to take their games to the next level and beyond.